shocked that we like all made it here because there's a lot going on with life. And secondly, I'm clapping just because I'm so excited to be here, and also I see so many people, all of you, really, that I know and I love. We've danced together, we've had white belts together, we've been in groups together, so that feels really good as well. So I have my family here. Both kids showed up. Hats off to the kids. I know. Spring break from college, the other in high school. That's like the last thing they want to do is hang out with their parents. But I know he's helping me, and they're both helping me today. So my sister is also here. My best friend is here. They're all here. Anyway, so I brought my. You guys all have a copy of your book. Okay. Good. Great. I even brought notes. I want to, before I get started, of course, thank Melanie, Elisa, and Julianne, the creators of this space. I want to thank the ladies that created Move to Center so that I could be here. So, thank you. Having the book launch here, really appreciate it. It feels like a warm, welcoming home. And that always feels good. Home always feels good. Let's see, beyond thanking, I also want to thank Kim Ramsey. Where are you, Kim?
Hey, Kim.
She's there. She's like putting on the finishing touches. Kim really, I went to her and I said, I'm gonna do a book launch party. Can you help? And then I promptly didn't do that much else. Though I did make this with Kim. I done lollipops. You can kind of get a feel for the theme I've got going here. So her and I had a nice afternoon of doing that together. And we did eat the little lollipops too, of course. So I just wanted to let you know, here's a little breakdown of today. I guess I could introduce myself. I'm Jill Pagano. I know that you are family and friends, so you know me. And more importantly than what I do, because so often that's easy to say, this is what I do, I'm an ambassador for the human body. So it's more about what I am than necessarily what I do. And that's where I'm starting today. We're going to be together. You don't have to sit, you know that. Please feel free to get up and honor whatever your body asks you to do. But we'll be together in this setting for 45 minutes, going over a little bit of my journey about how the book came to fruition, and also about the process of the book. And do that for like maybe 40, 45 minutes. And then I was hoping like maybe we could spend 10 or 15 minutes if you have something going on, whether it's a question or a concern or a struggle or a celebration, something that you had going on in your body that you wanted to ask me about, a little Q&A, and then we could take that and kind of filter it through the content of the book. And I thought that might be a nice way to go, okay, I've got this kind of going on, well, maybe look at section this might help you. So if you want to do that, we can as well. So about 2 weeks ago, I started getting even more excited about putting together this party. And I really started ruminating about what, hey! People clapping, it's awesome! I started ruminating about what was I going to talk? What was my talk going to be? I wanted to deliver this like high-impact talk and with talking points and all of that. And then life happened. And some of you know, I noticed I posted it on Facebook. My partner Joel got in a motorcycle accident, more of like a wreck. He was dirt bike riding, he broke his leg, he broke his arm, needed surgery on his wrist. So here I was like gearing up for like, yeah, I'm really gonna buckle down this week. I'm gonna get that talk. I'm gonna deliver this really high-powered, high-impact talk. Poof, Sunday happens, and all of a sudden all bets are off. And at first I was like, how can this be? I had plans this week. And then,
How inconsiderate of it.
yeah, how dare he, like really. But then there's that saying that like life happens when you're making plans. And about 2 days after the initial shock and like, I got this thought, this message, this whatever, that, you know what, this is what happens. Not only does it happen when I'm planning for a talk, but it so often happens with when we have plans for our body. I'm gonna work out, I'm gonna eat right, I'm gonna, get a massage, whatever. Life ends up going on, and sometimes life gets in the way, and then our plans get a little sidetracked. So it was the perfect segue into saying, that's what the book is about. The book is about living, having a life, living with our body, even when all these plans and other things that come up seemingly get in the way. Because wouldn't it would be great if we could just carve out all the time and, just like hi-ho, off we go and actually do everything we want to do. But again, life gets in the way. So I had that experience this week. So I'm with you. And was I able to do everything I like to do for my body, for my health? Did I eat all my vegetables this week? No. I mean, it was stress eating to the max this week. Oh boy. So, as we talk, I will absolutely go into my journey, but I'm going to start with the journey of the book. And the journey of the book, this is my one with notes on it, but you'll see that it has lollipops and candy on it, which is so, in my mind, so contrarian to a book that is about our body, that is about health. But my hope for, well, one, really, the backstory is I love candy. And my whole family is just like, yeah, this was, she would put candy all over her, book. I mean, at one point I wanted to tattoo M&Ms on my feet. I know. And it's like, well, it might be malt balls next month, so let's just let's not get carried away with a tattoo. I need a temporary tattoo. That's what I'm going to get next with this lollipop image. So that's the significance of the lollipop, but really equally important, the significance is that I wanted people to feel the invitation. And I wanted you to feel that life is sweet. And life with our body is sweet as well. And that was the hope, is that when we saw this delightfully pink with suckers all over it, that it wouldn't be this scary, healthy, I gotta get healthy book, and I'm me on the cover in my bathing suit, photoshopped. Or an apple, that's the typical health book. I am all into the candy. The next important thing I feel about the book, and this is because I went round and round between my editor and also some business coaches, and they were like, you really can't call it getting happy with your body. You have to call it either get happy with your body or how to get happy with your body. Because people want to know what they're going to get. And I was like, well, you can't just get happy with your body. You can't just go to the store. Oh, on my list. I gotta get happy with my body and pick it up off the shelf. I wish it, at least my experience is, that's not how it goes. So getting happy, it had to be an ing, it had to be a process. Because I'm always this is what I found, always in process of getting happy. Doesn't mean I don't have happiness with my body, doesn't mean I'm not having self-love. But that's not the same every day. It's not the same level every day. There are times where it's peak performance, yay, all systems go. And then there are times this week that was all bets are off. But I'm still getting there. I'm in this process. And the getting happy with the body is also refers to my approach. And my approach is that this isn't just an A to Z trajectory. It's also not a formula A plus B equals C. I don't diet, eat right, and then I'm happy with my body. I mean, anybody tried it? There's this thing, it's and we could bring in algebra here. There's an X factor called life and menopause and giving birth to babies and anything else you men go through, I don't know. But that's the X factor, is that it's just not a straightforward trajectory. So that is why the book is titled Getting Happy with Your Body. That's why it's that. Come on in, hi. So then, lastly,
Give you feedback,
yeah.
or do you want to, should we just listen and say
I'm going to get on a roll here, but I'll take a little feedback. Because I have those socks, actually. Just to be totally transparent, I got those socks.
I Got it.
It's one of the myths, I feel. It's a myth is that, oh, I get it, I got it, and I never lose it. And if I do lose it, there's something wrong with me. That's a great segue. I'm disappointed, I'm ashamed, I'm blaming myself because I had it, and now I lost it. Yeah, so we're just kicking that to the bucket, and that's actually probably like 95 pages of the book. Perfect segue, perfect. The last thing is that you will find that in your pages of the book is words and lots of blanks. I'm going to use this one. And the blanks are for journaling. So if you stroll on through, you'll see words and pages. And the journaling is really part of the process. Again, with the I'm getting happy with my body versus I just am going to get happy with it. Part of that excavation in developing a relationship with our body is learning about what makes me happy, what is my happiness, what about me, because this is about me, that's the other factor in the formula, and then the third factor in the formula is our body. And that's the entire relationship, that's kind of the umbrella. So as you'll see there, you get to do some journaling and take it bit by bit so that you are building a relationship almost like with the process as well as building a relationship with your body. If you do order the Kindle version, which people have, I know when I order a Kindle book and then there's a place where I'm supposed to like journal, I'm like, it's on like little scraps of paper and I'm like, But if you get the Kindle version or if you know someone who gets it, you actually get to download a free paper journal that we created. So that's kind of fun, yeah. So now you have an idea of like, how the book came to be. Why are there lollipops on it? What's the title? So let me go through a little bit of my background and why I felt the need to write this book and why now, because there were some people asking about that. So I have been 30 years now in fitness and wellness. I like to say I started when I was 10, but alas, 12. But over the course of those 30 years, my role has changed so much, similar to, I'm sure, your own career trajectory, where the first part of my career, I was really helping people with how they looked. I was a fitness instructor. Second part of my career was all about helping people and how their bodies performed. So I was a post-rehab personal trainer, which is if you have a shoulder surgery or a hip replacement or something like that, I would teach you exercises to get back to your performance. And then the third part was as a somatic educator, which just really means I educated people on their body. How does your body feel? And the reason being is I have found over these 30 years is that there's three common factors when we are feeling less than happy about our body. And those three factors are, I don't like the way my body looks, I don't like the way it acts or it's performing, and I don't like the way it feels, aches, pains. So over those 30 years, I came to have an experience with all of those areas. And that greatly impacted my message. That I've been through it myself, and I've been through it with you. So in the very, 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 very beginning, I'm going to read a little from the book. If you want to follow along, it's page 4, but it's just a paragraph. And I'd like to introduce you a little bit to my history. I love the human body, and I love to move. I can't remember a time when I didn't love to move. As a toddler, I would dance in front of the TV during my parents' gatherings. In fact, my childhood nickname was Shaky Jake. My father would go, Shaky Jake, stop moving. Because I'd be like wiggling and he'd be watching TV. Stop moving down there. I can hear him still. During high school, I turned our basement into my own mini dance and exercise studio with a mini trampoline, rubber tubing, weights, and a cassette player. So that gives you an idea of what year that was. It was very Jane Fonda. It was. Living in rural Idaho, I spent hours dancing in my basement, going on runs with my black lab, Frick, or hitting tennis balls against the side of a barn. I found my love. I love to move. That's really, I think it's very common for us to kind of go back and see, like, what were some of my passions, and moving definitely was a passion of mine. And as I moved into college, I really had a difficult time. I can remember going to my counselor and just big college girl tears. I don't know, I want to be a dance major, but my parents say, what am I going to do with a dance degree? I look back on that now and I'm like, dang, I would have saved myself a lot of time if I had gone the dance degree, because I had to just study all that. I just did it having a communication degree. So I graduated with a Bachelor of Science in Communication, but I took a lot of dance classes and the dance theater and things like that. Which, again, just part of the love to move. When I got out of college, I went into marketing like a good college graduate should do, but I moonlighted on the side, as often happens with hobbies. And my moonlighting was to teach aerobics. Work all day, drive across town, teach aerobic classes, and I really loved that. Until, and then at one point I did transition over, and I began to teach aerobics full time, which you can kind of imagine is a little bit of a challenging way to make a living. It's a lot of aerobic classes, and that tells you actually what time period, because I think they call them group exercise classes now. But back in the day, it was aerobics classes. How many? Who knows? Who went to high impact, low impact, high low? I mean, it was, you name it, bench. Go flying around over those benches. Oh, step aerobics. Yes, these are my people. I did get into personal training at that time too. So I wanted to read a little bit about that time period. And it goes. Before I knew it, training 30 plus clients a week and teaching 6 to 9 aerobic classes a week was starting to take a toll on me. I was young, under 30 still, and in pretty elite physical shape. In my off hours, I also enjoyed hiking in Seattle's Olympic mountain range. I rock climbed and camped on the weekends. I water skied at sunrise because I had a 6 a.m. client, so we'd have to water ski beforehand on Lake Washington. And I would cross-country ski and do snow camping. What was I thinking? Camping in the snow in the winters. I was living my passion, which was to move. I loved the outdoors, and then I loved being inside with my clients. But then I started to lose energy. At first I thought it was just lack of sleep. You ever done that? Oh yeah, just, I'm a little tired. I thought I was just burning the candle at both ends. Well, that candle ended up being the Epstein-Barr virus that my body couldn't fight. Then it was a case of shingles at the age of, under 30. Those 2 viruses seemed to open up the floodgates to problems, one after the other. Thoracic outlet syndrome, shoulder impingement, chronic shin splints, and plantar fasciitis. While I was working hard and playing big, my body was struggling to keep up. I'll never forget visiting a doctor and reading her chart notes, showing signs of anorexia nervosa with a tendency to compulsive exercise. What? I was a fitness professional. My industry was surrounded by teachers battling through injuries. I was a warrior, just like them, wearing the badge of my perfect body as my fitness perfection. I passionately taught people how to be fit and healthy, and I was a shining example of fitness, right? So I was so busy teaching and learning and training clients, I simply got in the habit of being the boss of my body. I told my body what I needed to get done, and I told my body I wanted to do it, and it would have to endure it for me. And my body did all that until it couldn't. And so often, I look back at that time period, and it just all felt so normal. It just all felt so normal. And I know that that's a time period of, 20s and 30s. It's just like, go after life. And I didn't realize how unnormal for me that was until I went to a fitness convention. Again, up at the crack of dawn, 7 a.m., they offer classes before the continuing education, and that is when I stepped into a class called Guts and Grace. And it was a NIA fitness class, but I didn't know what that was at the time. This is 1996. And I go strutting in, and the presenters, I have no shoes on, which I immediately was like, I don't understand. We're gonna move, I've got my shoes, I'm ready to go. They got a lot of padding on. And they talked of things as we began taking class, they talked of things about sensing my body. And they talked about enjoying movement. They talked about moving with pleasure and expressing myself. And it was like, I actually, this as a side note, can remember what I was wearing. It was a brown unitard, thank you very much. One-piece brown, chocolate brown unitard. And I can remember being in the hotel conference room, and they were on the stage, and Debbie Rosas has very short cropped hair, and Carlos had very long hair, and that was already but I was flinging my hands up, and we were going, yes, yes, and I thought, wow, this is what I've been missing. And somehow the connection of my years in dance with my love of fitness and the fitness industry merged together. And it was just like this perfect, yay, I found my bliss. Paddled off and went to the table, instantly signed up and became a NIA instructor. For those of you who don't know NIA has got this amazing body of work that is really all about learning how to live in the body and then learning how to live through life. So that was where I spent the last 20 years, is studying somatic of the body, how to be of my body and how to live with my body in life. And I still think I'm so grateful for that, those moments that come together and you go, gosh, if I hadn't signed up for that class, who knows what would be happening? Who knows? So now I'm 20 years into teaching NIA and doing somatic education, and I start to get a little itch. And maybe you've had those where something just doesn't feel right. For the last 2 years, I've been anxious, antsy, with an unusual dose of dissatisfaction. Something is off. I haven't been feeling right. I've been teaching the same body of work for nearly 20 years, and yet for the last 2 years, I feel like I've grown out of it. I feel done. Something deep inside me is saying, stop, at least for now. It's terrifying. And that is why I am here, gazing through the misty drizzle to wrestle with the whisper that says, stop teaching. Sitting here in my room, I am not only grieving, that's another part, I'll get to that, grieving my empty nest of kids. So I took an overnight and I went up to Semillon Lodge. Anybody know where that is? Kind of North Blaine. It's beautiful. It was January. I brought all my journals and I decided okay, I need to listen to myself. And so when I was up there, after a day of ruminating and meditating and all that, nothing happened until the very end. The next day, right as I was getting ready to leave, I sat down and did a little journaling, and the words that came to me was, Jill, you help people get happy with your body. And so that actually is also the connection to the book. So that's a little bit of my story of how searching, finding, brought me into somatic movement, and then searching, finding, and feeling that itch brought me here, writing the book. The important thing is, and people ask, well, what was the impetus to writing the book? The impetus to writing the book is I felt like I had something to say. I had spent a lot of time writing in journals, all sorts of thoughts about the body and what I was hearing from it. And so as I was writing something, I lost my train of thought there, as I was getting ready and doing more and more writing, it really dawned on me that when we're getting happy with our body, we really come up with two approaches. So if I go to my doctor and say, I'm looking, my doctor says, you need to lose this amount of weight to be healthy, or, this is happening, my digestion's not going so well. Typically the two approaches that we currently have is we need to do something with our diet, meaning our nutrition level, and we need to do something with our exercise. It's either one or two. When we have a problem, says I'm not feeling so great about my body, well, you either need to do something with your diet or something exercise. And that's it. And ever since I've been in this industry, that's all we've ever had. You might have a little bit more now. You hear like a little whisper of some other things. And so we have these two approaches, diet and exercise, and that's what we spend over $80 billion a year in the diet and exercise industry. $80 billion a year. It's actually about the same amount of money that the US government spends on transportation and education combined. Yeah, that's what we spend on weight loss and exercise. It's crazy. And yet, if you've read or seen online, our obesity rates are climbing. Chronic illness is also climbing. And so we go, we're all doing a lot of work. We're spending money not because we like to spend the money, because we're looking for something to help us. And yet our two approaches that we have are not cutting it right now. And so that's why I brought in the third approach. The third approach, that we want to be the first approach. And that approach, and the whole premise in the book, is this sense that you have a relationship with your body. And sometimes people go, I don't get it. What do you mean a relationship? And I go, well, this is easy. Just think about the relationships you have with the people you love in your life. There's you, and there's them, and together you interact, you listen to each other, you get to know each other, you know what they don't like, you know what they do like, you know when you're pushing buttons, and that relationship takes on a life of its own. So what if we had you, me, when I say you, I mean me too. We have our physical body, and we just do the same thing. We just overlay how you have relationships with those that you love in your life, and instead of just kind of take out the spouse and insert our body. And we go, okay, how can I begin to cultivate and nurture and foster a healthier, more meaningful relationship with my body? And really how that starts is by looking that our body is of us, certainly, thank goodness, right? But it also is separate than us. And so in the first part of the book, I talk about how, or actually it's the mid part of the book, I talk about how the body is an other. It's something that's separate, just like a friend is separate. Doesn't mean we love it any less or that we relate to it any less. It's just an other. And so that I can begin, when my body is an other, I can begin to think about, how am I in relationship to my body? How am I treating it? How am I listening to it? And likewise, just like you do with the people that you love in your life, you can think about, you can think about, how would this affect my body? How would this affect? If I'm going to do this in my relationship with someone I love in my life, and I know that that makes them happy, then I can also start to consider from the perspective of my body. I can start to consider, what would my body think about 8 hours of sitting all day? Interestingly enough, the body doesn't have an opinion. And this is something that always kind of gives me this aha. The body is an absolute neutral observer, for lack of a better word. It doesn't, it's not trying to be painful. It's not trying to be overweight. It's not trying to lack energy. Our body is a representation of what is currently going on in our life. And that doesn't mean to make us feel bad. If anything, the opposite. It's a way, our body is a way that communicates to us what it needs. Yeah. So there's a part in the book, in fact, the last segment of the book goes through and talks about, what is this language of the body? And I think this is why feeling like having a relationship with our body is a little like scratching our head, because our body actually has its own unique language. When I'm thinking thoughts in my head, that's all in English. It's in my natural language. It's all actually either in my mother's voice, or my father's voice, or my own voice. So you go, oh. But I recognize when I'm thinking something. And I think you do too, But when the body, as an other, starts to communicate to us, comfortable, and your back starts going, simply a message. Hey, hello, could you maybe switch it up a little bit? So that's the body's language from head to toe and inside out. The body is constantly providing us with messages. And we are constantly practicing how to decipher that message. And then how to go, well, I'm feeling you, I'm sensing you, body, I got what's going on, let me figure out how to make you feel better. So that's the give and take. That's why it's not just a to Z trajectory that I'm going to get happy with my body, that I actually am going to have this ebb and flow so that I'm constantly gathering information and then making choices. So the last part of the book is broken down into 3 sections. The first part is called Getting to Know You're Happy. And the reason I titled it that was because I really felt like it's so easy to just be like, I want to get happy with my body. I'm not happy with my body. And it's like, well, let's dive in a little deeper. What are you actually asking for? So there's an exercise in there that's called the mind map, where you go, well, I'd like to be pain-free, I'd like to be, flat, six-packs ab, I'd like to be, all the crazy, whatever it is. And then we pick, what are really my top priorities that help me every day feel happy in my body? And so you'll notice in the book that I've listed mine, and that there's the happy body assessment, which is where you can assess, where am I? How close am I to being this happy that I've been setting the expectation for? So it's really important, I think, in that very beginning when we start a journey to go, where am I now? And what's been the expectation all this time? Because expectation is what can kind of lead us astray. I haven't met my expectation, so I guess I'll just be miserable. Or I'll blame myself, I'll shame myself, and I'll lack self-compassion. So at least in that first section of the book, we go through that. Or I invite you to go through that. The second part of the second section of the book is called Getting to Know You, which is a little bit more about what's my mind? What goes through my mind when I'm thinking about my body? Because what gets filtered through our mind so deeply affects how we treat our body. And so we kind of do some of that, and the second section also goes through what I talked about, developing an ongoing relationship with your body, and what's that like. And then the last section of the book is called Getting to Know Your Body. And that's where we dive deeper into what is this process for understanding the language of my body? What is this process for getting to know it? And you'll see in there's a 3-step process. It's called the Be With Your Body practice, because we have to make things clever and cute, but also because it is a way to be with your body. And that 3-step process, I know it by heart, but I thought, well, maybe I'll show you a picture of it while I'm here. It's a circle. Get past it. So it's a 3-step process. The first step, let me get to the circle later.
126.
Thank you, everybody. 126.
Thank you.
So much for the PowerPoint. There it is. You're right, Cindy. The Be With Your Body practice, which I love. I love not only the idea, but the fact that if we're going to be in a practice, we want to circle around and around, and maybe we go a reverse way, and that's what the Be With Your Body practice is. The practice is only 3 steps, and the first, one of the steps is to meet your body. And so I'm going to have you do that right now, so you can kind of, if you want to stand up, or just kind of shake off the 25 minutes I've been sitting here talking to you the whole time. It's so unusual, right? So the first part of the Be With Your Body practice is, and this will just take us a few minutes, is to meet your body. And this is exactly like the first time you meet a friend. If I'm going to meet somebody new, I'm not going to be like, hi, nice to meet you. Hi, nice to meet you. So when we meet our body, just like when you're meeting someone you want to develop a friendship with, what do? Hey, I'm Jill. Hi, nice to meet you. We look at each other, we engage, we interact. And so right now, feel free to close your eyes. It's only going to be 30 seconds, so no panicking. I won't have you walking around the room meeting other people. But, now I just want you to hug the person next to you and meet their body. Sounds like a good idea.
That's called frisky.
Frisky. Yes. It's TSA all over again. So when you meet your body, I'm going to introduce you to meeting your body through an energetic handshake. It's where you just close your eyes, and as if you had a spotlight, you take that spotlight of attention and you place that attention either over your entire body or just a part of your body. And it really is an introduction. Hello, body. Yeah. And then that's it. Because when we meet someone, if we linger too long, it can be a little odd. Hi, how are you? Hi, 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 hi. Yeah, it's just like weird at that point, right? So when you start to use the be with your body process, it's okay, I'm going to meet my body. I'm going to place that attention on my body. The second part is to listen. Because if we are going to develop a friendship, one of the things, or even if I just need directions to the, where's the bus stop, I need to take in information. I need to listen. And so as you move through this be with your body process, step 2 is to listen. So again, go ahead, close your eyes, because that just takes out all the external static. Start by, you can meet your feet. I don't care what you meet. Decide wherever you want to meet in your body and take a moment. You can move it around a little bit. You can wiggle. And I just want you to listen. Receive information. You don't have to judge it. What's the sensation? Cold, hot, sticky, tight, sore, puffy. Great. Doesn't it feel good to stay there? Do you just want to stay there all day? All right, so then the third process, the third part of this being with your body, developing a relationship with your body, number 3 is to choose, in parentheses, in favor of your body. So you're going to choose. So right now, go ahead, drop back into your body. Another quick, you can pick a different body part you want to meet. Take your flashlight of attention on it. Listen. Ooh, it's a little this or that. Is it sore? Is it tender? And I want you to choose something to do with your body that makes it feel a little better. Anything. Could be a little wiggle. Could be a breath. A stretch. Choosing in favor of your body. Choosing something that's going to make you feel better. Awesome. And that's it. That's what we do. We meet by placing our attention. We listen to gather information, and then we choose, hopefully in favor of our body. And we can do this in movement, but we also do this with our choices. Do I need to drink some water right now? I'm going to choose to drink some water. So I go through many, many pages and exercises in the book that go through that be with your body process. Oh, you may sit and relax again. Let's see, I had so many things I wanted to read with you, but...
So Jill, is that like a once-a-day practice, or is that like a once-an-hour practice?
Thank you for bringing that up. I think that practice can start as a, in order to create habits, it is nice to have a certain set day and time. When I first started doing a practice like that, it was before I stepped out of bed. I would literally just lay in bed, and they only took a few minutes. Be like, oh, hi body, good morning body. And would go through and just listen and kind of warm up and move before my feet hit the floor and life got running. I will say that what I have found is in my practice now, there are 2 things that I'm doing throughout my day. And that's in the very first section of the book, that happy body assessment. I'm constantly going through my assessment of am I as pain-free as I want to be? How's my digestion? How's my stomach feeling today? And then I'm constantly assessing what's going on. And then I am constantly, it's become a habit for me to constantly meet, listen, and choose. And I will say this is the asterisk, I don't always choose in favor of my body. And I talk about this in the book. Because there are sometimes that Jill, the boss of everybody, the boss of mind, body, emotion, spirit, Jill, says, I'm eating chocolate cake, even though I know that wheat bothers my stomach. I just make the choice. And I go, sorry, body, I'm going to do this. Take care of you later. So even though I say choose, parentheses, in favor of your body, it doesn't mean I always do. Because if we did, well, we probably wouldn't be here. If it was so easy to do that. If it was just so easy, A plus B equals C, well, we wouldn't have a $80 billion diet weight loss industry, weight loss and exercise industry. That is what I wanted to share with you from the book. On top of all of that, or underneath it, I don't know if it's the foundation or the umbrella, the very last thing I'll share with you is a thread, a common thread that I hope you receive from the book, is this ingredient of compassion. I don't know if pink is the color of compassion, but if it was, that would be perfect. Is it? Because that is probably the strongest message. More than knowing what makes you happy, more than knowing how to be with your body, probably I'm doing more and more research on how self-compassion is one of the key ingredients to transformation, to any kind of change. Because the anti-self-compassion, the opposite of self-compassion, is what keeps us stuck. What keeps us harming ourselves with our words, self-harming. It's what keeps us in this cycle of feeling like we're not enough. When self-compassion and being able to understand that, like, yeah, okay, I didn't pick the right food. Okay, I got this, or whatever. Okay, so I'm not exercising as much as I should. That not only is it okay, because I think sometimes it's easy to placate, like, well, that's okay. But to be like, wait a minute, what else do I have going on that I am actually being wonderful at? And that I am giving my energy to? And then when I have a little bit more energy, then I'll be able to come over here and be with my body more. But that what I'm doing is enough until I can start to create more transformation with when there's a little bit more light, whether there's time or energy or whatever. But self-compassion, I think, is like, if there was one, like, if I could give a pill, that would be it. The pill of self-compassion. So, yay, amen, exactly. Give me an amen to that. Yay. So sweet. So I am open, if you need to use the, food, drink, bathroom, and we can just spend this next little time, whether you have questions, again, if you have something for yourself that you're like, I'm kind of stuck on this one thing. Maybe we could filter it through the book, and then we've got a little time for food, drink. I'll sign any of your books, and I just can't thank you enough for your attention, for your willing to play and be here. So, anyone have something they want to, and we can keep it, keep it light, where do you want to go with it?
So,
I know, we're going deep. Yeah, you can say your name if you'd like.
I'm Piper. So there was a time in my life when I was a competitive ice skater, competitive skier. I was like huge, present, and active in my body. And then trauma occurred. I was sexually abused, and I'm amazed at how exercise, I like to be in my body, but when I push it to a certain point where I'm really feeling my heart beat, right, and I'm feeling positive strain for my body, my emotions will kick in, and I want to just stop, right, because it starts to bring up the body memory from the trauma. Mm-hmm. So, and I've done lots of different things to try and address this, but I notice, and this is what I'm curious about, is underlying my resistance to exercise, I think is this, like all the way down, deep down in the background, right? It's not so much about, oh, it's raining, or it's, because I've overcome those things before, and I'm fine on a pair of skis, you know, and I like to ski fast and aggressive still, but it doesn't, somehow it's not triggering that same thing. So I'm curious, through the lens of the book, self-compassion may be being part, but do you have any other ideas that might be helpful? That whereby I could encourage myself and do a little more follow through on maybe going for a short run, or doing something that would get my heart rate up a little bit more, and
Because that's something you want. So
I
you
would
have a
like
desire. You're like, yeah, I'd like to go out.
yeah,
Do
I'd
for a
like to build
run.
my stamina, because I'm fine with how my body looks at this point in my life, but I'd like it to be stronger and more fit.
Yes, and this is something that I address a little bit in the book, is that deep connection between emotion and our physical body, and how our life experiences are living in our body, no matter how far back. In fact, one exercise that you might look at is in chapter 2. It's called the Body Autobiography, and it is where we go through stages of our life and what happened, what we experienced in those stages. Journal about that experience, and journal about what message is maybe coming up, or what message we gleaned from that experience. And sometimes they're really positive experiences. I won a race, and I really felt, when I was 10 years old, and so I've always felt really powerful, running. Or I had a traumatic experience, and it was during this time of my life, and so when I go back to something somehow related to that, it triggers them. And so the body autobiography can be a good way to mentally go, oh, I had an inkling, there's connection here. And then it can bring some light to it, and might even bring up some of that emotion. Outside of the book, obviously the book has some of it in it. What gets me is, or what my brain is thinking about, is that you could go from the experience of your body. So if you choose to go for a run, use your mind to flood yourself with physical sensations. Like, as I'm running, so if I run from here to that tree, I'm going to place all my attention on my feet. And just keep connected to your feet. Just feel the sensation of your feet. Feel whether it's pounding, whether it's rolling, your toes, feel your shoes, feel the pressure, and just use your mind to connect to your body. And that may begin to create a new pathway. Because somehow there's a trigger pathway, that so much happens in trauma. That the fast beating heart reminds us of something else. And so you might actually use your mind. So often we say, oh, our mind is such a bad thing, I'm thinking too much. Well, here's where you can harness your mind and direct it to your physical in the now experience. Because what can also happen with trauma is that we literally trip back in time, and our body thinks, I'm back there. That's what it's telling us. So if you can just be like using your environment to be like, I'm present right here and now. So I'm going to run from this tree to that tree. That'll keep you connected to the outside environment, and then connecting to your physical sensation will bring you into the now. It is one thing to try.
That's very good.
That's
That's very good, Jill.
Yeah,
I have a question.
thanks.
I
Yes.
love that.
Miss
I
Sim.
have a question.
Yeah, don't make it hard.
I'm not.
Don't bust my balls.
I'm trying to think it through and how is it. So what I kind of got from the beginning of your talking about you, in fact, was that some of the impetus of everything that started this was pain, and so many of us go through this thing of, I have this pain, and then this pain triggers fear.
Yeah.
And then you go into, how do I deal with the pain and the fear of starting exercise or starting what's right for my body? And let me just say, as you get a little older, and I've just gotten into like a
Just had a birthday.
that, just even, I'll find myself like going, wow, this feels really different and kind of brittle. Oh shit, what do I do with that? Because that
Yes.
hurts. And then if I go do this, it's gonna hurt it more. So how do we take that silent observer, which is our body and our spirit, that stands back and says to us, how do I get past those thoughts of pain and fear that shut me out?
I think that's kind of a hard question. Can we go to lunch?
We can have drinks later.
Right.
No,
That's
it's
exactly what I was speaking about as well, because you know what you said about relationship with your body, from thinking, I have to figure this out.
Yeah, I have to
And
fix
I
it.
even did that recently, and I thought, I was doing really well, Anne, and you were going, yeah, Jill, you're doing really well. I'm figuring out how to get back into meal class.
Me too.
But I'm telling my body how I should do it, rather than going,
exactly.
well, I'm going to just show up and see how my body feels, and then do what it tells me.
Yeah,
Right? It's so different. And
yeah.
that's what I thought from what you were talking about earlier is, it's like, I'm not going to tell my body, I'm not going to figure it all out and then go, okay, how's the training program for me now?
Right. Your body is sitting there going, ah, shit, here we go again. Okay, I'll do whatever she says, you know. All the while going, this is hurting. Excuse me, my hip is hurting. Excuse me, could you stop doing it? You know.
You tell 10 minutes now, you should be able to do 15.
Right, but I said, well, the class is an hour, so I should be able to stay
Well,
for
or
an
you
hour.
go to another
Anything.
thing, and we go to the $8 billion of, oh, well, shit, I gotta give me another personal trainer, I gotta get this, or I should do that going on, or, you see?
Right.
So
Yeah.
the pain and the fear complex you into this whole clusterfuck of stuff that you think you gotta do.
Right.
So,
Let's nail that then, okay.
yes.
Two things in that. Yes, we absolutely have an industry that is fix it and forget it. Fix it, it's broken, forget it, I don't want to deal with it anymore. Or fix it so I can forget it. Well, if you've been in a relationship, you know that if you don't pay attention to it, you ain't going to get much out of the relationship. Randy? So, there's that switch. How do I relate to where my body is now? So if there is pain, it is super easy to just want to get rid of it. In fact, that is what keeps us alive. That is a fundamental existence, not only of the body, but of the spirit of the person that says, pain is bad, and I want the pain to go away. That's how we exist. That's how we keep ourselves safe. In relationship with the body, we can take that mentally and go, I am feeling pain. So the mind is saying, I hear you, body. The emotions are saying, I'm scared, shitless. Excuse me. And we can go, oh, I realize I now have fear around pain. My fear is not only the pain, but my fear is that I'm always going to be in pain. My fear is that I'm getting older. My fear is I can't do what I used to do. I mean, so that's the emotions talking. And so then if we come in from the physical part with that moment of, self-compassion, yes, but also from the body's perspective. So what you were sharing in your language was, Cindy's. This is how Cindy, and many of us go through the experience, start to spin out because we're nervous about this pain and what do I do and how do I fix it? And then we take a moment, and if it's possible to go, what is my body telling me here? Because the body is, again, sending a message. It's not saying, I don't like you. It's not saying, I meant to do this on purpose. It's not saying, it simply is a physical experience that is happening in the now. And so by being on the other side of that and going, okay, this is simply a body message. Yes, I want to meet the message. I don't want to ignore it, just like if a friend was going, help, 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 and just like, see you later. I want to meet that. And that's when you begin to explore and research, and you use your professionals to help learn more. So just go around that. Choose your body, listen to your body, meet your body, choose it, listen to it. Let's see, meet your body, listen, choose it. They're spinning around. But you can go in you can keep going with it. You can also go in other directions. So when you say, okay, I'm starting to sense I'm getting weaker and that's bothering me and that makes me feel nervous. Absolutely, that's when you can go out and say, I need a professional to give me some information and I'm going to listen and digest that through my body as well. I'm not solely going to do what they tell me. I'm going to run it through my body, just like a relationship.
Yeah.
A little bit.
Works.
Looking at your perspective of the body is the short answer, and that it's simply a message. And recognizing that your mind and your emotions are spiraling somewhere that is really just a simple message from your body that says, hey, I kind of need you to do this. That's really, it's really kind of that simple. The drama of it all is what the mind and the emotions do. The body's just saying, hey, I just need to get a little stronger if you wouldn't mind. I don't care how you do it. Do push-ups in the morning, whatever. Yeah, Jim.
So interesting. I'm kind of got a little bit spun on a realization from just these conversations.
Yeah.
And sort of related, I guess. I just had a realization that, like, gosh, what was it that popped me out of being in relationship with my body as a kid? And I now just realized in this room what it was.
Oh,
Wow, that's cool.
And
What was it?
so, can
Would you
I,
like to share?
I'm an oversharer, so it's kind of intense. Can I share it with you guys? Are you okay? So my parents bought a new house, and so we changed doctors. I was 11. No, I was 8. I was 8. And so it was a new pediatrician. And so the pediatrician was asking some questions about my health history. And one of the questions was, does he have any health issues? No, he's healthy. Any problems with this or with that? Or has he ever had, the questions that you check the box no and everything, And then it was any deformities. Oh yes, one. What? I have a deformity? We had a family friend in Los Angeles, and their child had thalidomide syndrome. I don't know if you've ever seen a child with that, but they're really profoundly disabled. The kid lived to about 9 years old. Anyway, it's really awful. And so that was the only image, was like this horrifically deformed, child. I thought, I'm deformed? So my chest, my sternum is sort of one of those sternums that goes into my chest. It's not flat, but it's, this sort of concave. It reflects the sun into a laser. I'm an X-Men.
Yeah. Does your sternum getting closer
But
to your heart?
it was termed a deformity.
Oh, shit. Wow.
Medical term of like.
That's when shame, the first experience I had of shame of my body,
Yes.
and it was so intense, I never swam.
Do you want anybody to see?
I never took off my shirt again in public.
Wow.
And then as a gay kid, and once I sort of came to terms with that, the shame with like at PE class and physical exercise, and then of course, I don't know how the women feel about about how you should look in your body, but gay men have that like times 10.
Yeah.
I do.
Yeah.
So like, you think
She said, nice try.
you think
It's not a competition, we respect and understand.
men are pigs, and we're not pictures.
Yeah.
So it's,
I don't think you got it.
I think it's just we're all in it.
It's a lot. We're all
So
in
it's
it.
really like, anyway, so it's been, and so the point is, not to compete, but the point is, wow, am I experiencing like this trauma or this like pain or these fears? What has gotten me not in a state of embodiment? What has got me out of this sort of somatic like relationship is shame.
Absolutely.
And I'm like, wow, the hatred I have for my body, or this ignoring my body, or trying to be out of my body is all about shame.
From way back when, that kind of
Yeah.
grows and takes
And
on a life of its own.
Kind of tracing back, like, wow, look at all the things I'm doing to like pacify shame
Yeah. Yeah.
with food,
Yes.
with like, and shame, did you say exhausted?
It's exhaustive.
Shame is exhausting.
Well, shame itself is exhausting,
Yeah.
which is why like sedentary lifestyles are kind of relieving for shame, because I'm like
Because
so
you're just
tired.
exhausted. Yes.
Yeah, Mia cuss over at the sock dealership,
Yeah.
you know.
The Center for Movement and Healing
Yes,
with the
yeah.
lovely shirt that she
Yeah,
has on. Yes.
And we had that movement, like I experienced, I was like, I don't know what the hell this is.
I know. I was doing a free dance class, so we were just.
This was like a bunch of folks, totally non-judgmental, with someone that I super love, and two people who,
Yeah.
because we went to that retreat that I spoke at,
Yeah.
and I was like, wow, it's like non-judgmental joy through movement. I could just be in my body and like enjoy it. And I was starting to approach these things anyway, and these past few years have been sort of overcoming a lot of this stuff.
Yeah.
But just in this moment, I sort of had a little breakthrough on like, this is really about.
Yes, that's profound. And that is
You
what-
love my sternum?
That is, yeah. Everybody.
I know we had to lay there and everyone's like, I love my sternum. It might be too much.
Is it Jim?
Jim.
Jim, I don't think my husband would mind, he's not here, but I don't think he would mind me sharing this, that he has that same.
Oh.
They're actually quite inverted, or?
Yeah, so as a child, the sonogram will hear the heart rate, and so the reason it's recorded in my medical record is because it bounces your heart rate weird,
Yeah.
and so they hear like a heart murmur,
Right,
or it
that's
can
what-
make your heart sound funny
That's what they did with him too.
as a child,
And, as a child.
but as an adult, it doesn't.
But he does have that, and I think it's pretty sexy.
Hey baby, hey baby.
Jim brings up a really good point, and this is why I put the body autobiography in the book, was because tracing some of our stories and our impressions and our experiences, and some of them they're way back, and you know that moment probably could have happened in 3 or 4 seconds, but for you it was
I
impactful.
think my mom doesn't even remember it.
So often, isn't that the case?
We do things for our kids, and if my mom knew that I was telling a story, she would be mortified.
Right.
And how many things have we done for our kids, and we're like, what?
Yes, I never knew. Yeah. So that's.
So thanks for listening and holding
You
space
bet.
for me, guys.
Also, you might.
I can't wait to work through the book, right?
Well, in the body archetypes, which I didn't talk about, but there's a section of called body archetypes in the book, where are you do you have a tendency to be a body blamer? Do you have a tendency to be a body betrayer?
Yes.
Do you think your body is always betraying you? Do you have a tendency to be the body oblivion? This person is just oblivious of their body. I have no idea. So there's a series of where you can go through and kind of get an idea of what archetype you might play towards more. Yeah. Anyway, back there.
I have to take off soon, so I just want to say thank you so much for writing this book. The whole point of the compassion, you're part of a movement about listening to our bodies and having that relationship that is a paradigm shift from force and dominance that applies in many, many ways, but that's how we've treated our body too.
Oh, yes.
And it's time to wake up and be kind.
Yeah.
And so
Life
thank
is
you.
so short. Thank you. You're welcome. You're welcome. Life is so short, so let's enjoy it. Yes,
And Jill, on top of that, like, I can totally see you on Channel 9. I'm like, I see you on the stage, when you're giving the talk. So what are you doing? No, but it's sharing this knowledge. So what are you going to do going forward? I mean, the book's amazing. I can't wait to dive in. It's like so profound.
Oh, with your help, we just keep sharing out there.
But are you
Yes.
doing classes, or are you doing one-on-one work, or what's the plan?
That's the
What's
plan,
the next
Stan. Thank you for asking that. And yes, to Anne who was saying, this is a movement that's moving forward. I mean, I spent some time researching, and really the last 10 years researching, there's more and more research on the importance of self-compassion. And however, self-compassion is connected to mindfulness. So if we can create people mindfulness and self-compassion and get them into their bodies compassionately, I really believe we can make some shifts in how people are living and appreciating their life and their body. For me, the bit is to definitely go out and share the message. I'm happy to talk at family gatherings. If you want to put a little girlfriend, boyfriend gathering together, I would love that. My focus, a book club, yes. My focus is also to take not only the book is the process, but Happy Body Habit is my group, corporate, or organization well-being program. And so my bigger picture is to go into organizations, to speak at conferences, to speak at conventions, to go into organizations that have wellness, but so far their wellness plans have just been nutritional counseling, diabetes testing, and exercise classes. And to say, look, we have this other approach that can fit well with all of that, and that's something different than what they've been doing. So speaking as much as I can, wherever I can, and going into organizations and sharing the Happy Body Habit, which really is the book, is my next big step. So and, Oprah Soul Sunday, I guess, if I can squeeze her in. Thanks for asking. Yeah. You're welcome to I'll take 2 more questions and then we'll eat and drink. And this whole photo thing is so you can take pictures. Bobby, our photographer, is here so that you can pose in front of the lollipops and take a bunch of pictures and just spread the message. So let's see. Karen, sorry. Karen.
I see things are popping off in my mind about how nicely this meshes with a meditation that I started mid-January through a guided app, 10% Happier. I read the book, I decided to do it, I love it, and I've been doing it regularly. And as I was listening to Piper's story and Jim's story, and you said something, I was kind of going, and that piece about that, we notice our body, but then we go into fear, or we start having judgments, or it takes us back. And then I was thinking about the meditation practice, and I was thinking, well, what about the idea that our brain is also a part of our body? We're talking about noticing the physical body, but our brain that likes to do thinking and judging.
That's its job,
and
really.
Fear and emotion, right? Emotions live in our body, but also our mind
Finds them.
finds and
Or
takes
creates
us off
them.
on a journey, right? So that piece about noticing when our brain is doing that.
Yeah, I like
Not
that.
just noticing the pain here, but noticing what the brain is doing right now, like it's hijacking us into someplace else.
Yes.
And so one of the practices in the meditation is just noticing, thinking, just naming it.
Yeah,
Thinking.
I'm thinking about whatever.
Thinking.
The
So
brain
when we
is
start
doing
getting
that.
hijacked, it's like, that we are also, your cycle,
Yeah.
but noticing what the brain is doing. Oh, thinking. And then coming back, and the practice in the meditation, the brain is going to do what it's going to do. It loves to do that.
It's its
Right?
job. Yeah.
And
Designed for
the
it.
practice of the meditation is noticing when the brain is doing that. And
Yeah.
just naming it and going, thinking,
Uh-huh.
or, fear,
Yeah.
like whatever it is, put one little label on it, and then the practice is, and coming back to the breathing, or coming back to the feet,
Circle
or
back
coming
around.
back to the body. That's the practice, is to notice that
Yes.
you've gone off, and to come back and to start again,
Yes.
and to notice
Yeah.
and start again.
Nice. I almost called the Be With Your Body practice notice, sense, choose. But I wanted to add another word of meet instead, because I could tie it in to the relationship part. But you're right, noticing and listening to it, and then choose. Am I going to follow what I'm hearing, or am I going to say, oh, I'd like to stop this? So it's very similar.
I see this as just not only the practice that's been going for so long about your physical body and diet and exercise, but meditation and mindfulness is another big thing that's
Yeah.
coming up, and this just fits in all of that.
And I like when, one other thing that I like that you said is noticing that the brain is part of the body. So it gets like a bad rap, but the brain's job is to sense physicalness through the nervous system. So that really when we feel pain, yes, we get all wrapped up in the pain, but we also can have a moment, if you can get there, is that, wow, my brain and my nervous system is doing its physical job. It is doing what it's designed to do. And every system in the body has, and that's what makes learning about the body also very freeing and very adds compassion. Because I would just go, instead of me hating my thinking or hating my pain or whatever, I can recognize that it actually has a place, a job. There's somewhere in the body that has a job for that. Slow.
Someone has to leave and
Oh.
they're being blocked by.
It's me.
Hi, Ford SUV.
It's my car.
Oh, it's her. Thanks. Yeah.
Jill,
Well, yes.
did you say that this was the process you were suggesting? Seems that that's the process.
Very similar. Yes. Mine is that I was to be more physical sensing
Right, but she has to notice first
if it's happening.
what she's thinking.
Yeah, which I think sounds like she is.
I actually heard something different. It was, so I'm a trained hypnotherapist, neurolinguistic programming professional. So I help my clients with mental health, and I can help myself to a certain extent, right? But I just noticed overall, the trauma is so embedded that I just will resist. I'll just have constant resistance, right, to going anywhere that I know it might be triggered. So what I heard was bypass, rather than go into, bypass and just focus on my feet and let that, and see where that takes me versus, because.
Do it at the beginning.
Go physical.
Begin
Yeah,
just
right,
begin
right,
there.
which will then allow a new habit to begin to take place in my brain versus the habit now is my heart rate's gonna go up, I'm gonna feel my feet, right? I don't want that. So I just-
Where am I now?
Yeah, exactly, versus, okay, I'm gonna run for 10 minutes, okay, focus on my feet. Yeah,
Yeah,
which
yeah.
really, I love that idea so much, and just see where it takes me, or, or I'm gonna focus on something else, but not focus on my heart rate going up and then the emotional panic that just habitually starts to
Yeah. Anyway, thank you. Yeah. So go ahead and eat and drink. The last thing I'll say is you can be very, very, well, it won't be the last thing I say, but it's very helpful to me if you review the book online on Amazon or Goodreads. That's great. Just give your honest review. If you want to share it on social media, or if you have ideas for organizations that I could go and speak to. It would be a different talk than what I gave today, but nonetheless, speaking about the process, that would be really helpful for me. So go enjoy. We'll put some music on. Bobby will be here to take a picture